Well, welcome to everyone to this month's Recruiting Insider webinar, and we are setting another record. Every month we are exponentially increasing the number of attendees, and I certainly do not take this lightly. I'm watching the attendees right now. Lots of people are signing in as we're talking right this minute. We're limited to 1,000 people. And I will tell you that we are quickly approaching that limit. So once we get there, I'll have to make a decision whether to do 2 of these a month, or it's just limited to the first 1,000, and others can listen to the recordings and such. By the way, we are recording this webinar. We record every one of them, and they are available at impacttrans.com. So, and this is a 30-minute webinar, so I'm going to get right at it. And the first thing I want to do is thank our sponsors and TruckRight. Many people may have not have heard of TruckRight. It's been around for about 6 years. It's a Canadian-based company, and 3 years ago, Dirk Coupar, the owner of Coupar Enterprises, which is one of Canada's largest driver leasing companies. 6 years ago, he started using himself. 3 years ago, he brought it to the Canadian market. It's been used for the last 3 years by US DOT compliant fleets, but that were in Canada. And folks, about 2 months ago, I became the exclusive US distributor of TruckRight. It is the next generation in applicant tracking and DQ file management. It totally automates the entire process. We would love to have an opportunity to share TruckRight with you. Secondly, HireRight. We all know who HireRight is, and I do not take lightly HireRight's support of this webinar and for sharing it with all of their clients, and for many of the folks that are signed up are HireRight clients, and thank you so much for HireRight. And then Ramsey Media Works, from the word go. Ramsey has been a supporter of this webinar. Ramsey and I have had a strategic partnership since May of 2010. Julie Ramsey was my advertising rep, when I was head of recruiting at CFI many moons ago. I don't mind saying, Julie may not want me to, so I'm going to say it anyway. I started Impact 18 years ago when I quit CFI, and she was my rep before that. Ramsey is a full-service advertising agency. Folks, if you're looking for an ad agency that just absolutely knows trucking and customer service through the roof, Ramsey is that agency. They take it very seriously, and if you're looking for somebody who's going to work on your behalf, make decisions based on what's good for you and you individually, Ramsey is the agency for that. And having said that, every month we have a lot of first-time attendees this month, and every month Matt Lee from Ramsey Media Works shares the Ramsey Minute with us, and so he's been giving us little snippets of advertising techniques. And I want to invite everybody also and make you aware of, if you look at the top there, recruitingsessions.com. If you go to that website, Matt has, Matt, how many, by the way, Matt Lee is online with us. He's just being quiet there. Matt, how many recruiting sessions do you guys have recorded now and online?
We actually have 10 right now, and
10.
working on 2 more.
All righty. Well, I've watched 5 of them, and now that I know that you've uploaded another 5, I'm going out to watch them. Guys, they are shocking, they're entertaining, and they're exceptionally educational. Seriously, they are a blast to watch, because they put some video clips in there, there's some humor in there, and anyway, I highly recommend you go out and check out recruitingsessions.com. He's got some great content out there that, frankly, no matter whether you use Ramsey or not, it can help you in your driver recruitment advertising. And by the way, I can just tell you, you'll sit there in anticipation of what they're going to do next. It's that creative. Having said that, Matt, you're going to visit with us about pay-per-click advertising this month.
Yes, and thank you for that, Kelly. And I do invite everybody out to recruitingsessions.com. We have certainly had a blast recording those, and we'll continue to put new content out there. So sign up. There's a place for you to sign up so that you don't miss the next one. And again, we're going to be in production again tomorrow, shooting some on social media. So always have fresh new content out there. So again, I would recommend that you join us at recruitingsessions.com. But quickly, I would like to talk this month about pay-per-click or PPC advertising. And some of you probably already know this, but I kind of wanted to walk through 5 different things that will help improve your strategy if you're currently using PPC. And if not, hopefully entice you to maybe try some of that out. So anyway, first of all, I want to talk a little bit about how it works. And we're going to use Google today as our example just because it's the #1 search engine used today. And so let's just say that somebody types in CDL jobs in Charlotte or truck driving jobs. What happens is Google sends out spiders and brings back all websites that have that particular tag or information within their website. But the top 3 results and the bottom 3 results are paid or ads. And so when you click on those, and sometimes they'll be shaded in a different color or maybe even say a sponsored link or something like that on there. When you click on those, it actually costs that company money. They have bid to be in that particular position, and so that's why it's called a pay-per-click model. And there are some parameters that you need to set if you're going to use pay-per-click. And so the second part of my topic is monthly or setting a daily budget is always what we recommend. I've had companies tell me, Matt, I've used pay-per-click in the past, but wow, it got really expensive really fast. And how you're able to overcome that is by setting a monthly or even a daily budget. So let's just say that we're going to set a budget of $15 per day or $100 per day, whatever that number is. Once you reach that daily budget, so which means that you've set that parameter and you said, okay, Google, I'm going to give you 50 cents per click and a total of $10 per day. Once the 50 cents per click at $10 is reached, your ad simply comes down for that day. And then it starts back over at midnight. So it's very important to set that daily budget so that you don't go over your monthly budget, so to speak. Competitive bidding. Google is very, very good at giving tools that you can, once you start an AdWord campaign, it's going to basically give you information and help you determine the amount of budget that you should use based on the keywords that you're picking. They're also going to show you how much you should bid on each one of those keywords. And it will also help determine what time of day that you should be bidding at specific times of the day. Sometimes keywords work better at in the evening time, for instance. And so again, Google's very good about giving you the tools that you need to be able to win in a pay-per-click campaign. It also allows you to geo-target specific regions, and so that you can say, hey, I'm just looking for drivers in the Charlotte area. Let's just use that as an example. I just want to target drivers that are in that Charlotte area. So we can say, here are the zip codes that we want to target. And so only people within that IP address that goes back to that zip code will be able to see those ads. So it's not like we're going to get drivers from California or Washington State that are seeing those ads, so we don't have that wasted distribution. And so we're able to really get down and kind of fine-tune and geo-target those specific areas. And then the fifth thing is track results, which is the most important piece of this. Google Analytics actually allows you to, and the Google AdWords allows you to place a code within your website. So you'll just have to work with your IT folks, or if you have any questions, obviously, you can certainly give me a call and I'd be more than happy to walk you through it. But you basically place a code on a certain area of your website so that it will allow it to track those results, and we can say that we got this particular driver from this particular campaign. And so and again, Google allows those kind of tools, and I would highly recommend, if you're not using a pay-per-click model today, to implement that into your strategy, because we are certainly seeing great results from it. But again, using these 5 techniques will certainly help maximize your return on your investment. And with that,
I would add I'm sorry, Matt, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, with that, I'll turn it back over to Kelly.
Well, I think you need to say, with that, until then, I'm just Matt. Is that how you end them all? Folks, go to recruitingsessions.com and you'll understand why I said that for that. Matt, thank you so much. But kind of 2 seconds to stay on this topic is, I've seen where a company was saying, oh yeah, I got this pay-per-click, plan for you, and it's going to cost you, and frankly, the true story is $10,000 a month. And at the end of the month, the client had 2 clicks. And then this company said, well, give us another 10 grand, we'll go at it again, And that is not a true pay-per-click program. Would you comment on that real quick?
Absolutely, yes. And again, back to the track and the results. I mean, if we are seeing some great results from Google pay-per-click and Yahoo, for that matter, too. But it has to work. And so, again, Google gives you the tips and the tools to be able to maximize your return. And so, yes, and I've heard that too, Kelly, that people have said, man, it was just a lot of wasted money. And if you're not setting those daily and monthly budgets, it can get out of hand pretty quick. And so, again, working with some, either using the Google tool and going through that tutorial, or finding someone who is a Google partner who's actually certified to be able to work within these parameters would be a great idea.
And what we really haven't talked about here today, and we're going to have to get off it, but it can be part of the ongoing things that you talk about. I mean, pay-per-click, there's opportunities for that within Facebook as well, and then there's also remarketing, which just takes this to the next level and puts you on the pointed edge of the sword, because we can go after people that are looking for what you have right now. So it's identified, this is a truck driver that lives where you want them to live, they're the type of driver that you want, and they're looking right this minute, and that's remarketing. And so then it's not, just hoping somebody sees it. Well, and frankly, even pay-per-click isn't hoping somebody sees it, because they're searching certain keywords and they're seeing it. But this takes it to the next level. And so, Matt, maybe that's something we talk about, because I've only give Matt a few minutes here, and so he's got to slice and dice the piece. So, but folks, if you're looking for drivers, and you're looking for somebody to help you, Matt talked, and thank you so much, Matt. You talked a lot about, hey, folks, you can do this, you can work with that. But the truth is, folks, most of us are sitting in the seats. We're experts in trucking. We're experts in recruiting and/or safety. We need an expert working on our behalf to take care of making those phones ring and the internet leads to come in, and not burying you in just what I call database leads that everybody and their brother gets, that frankly that person wasn't interested in you specifically, but real, true, pointed, interested leads for your company, if you're looking for that type of help, call Matt over at Ramsey, please. It's 417-782-3694. With that, Matt, thank you so much. I'm going to move forward so we can get it covered. And folks, you know, I'm not going to belabor this slide because we don't have much time, but it's going to make its point very quickly. We're in the largest driver shortage we've ever seen. Right now, we're having a little bit of soft freight, and the freight being soft is masking the shortage. I was just at the TCA Safety and Management Council meeting down there in Fort Worth, and you know, several people walking around saying, you know, hey, our trucks are full. And also mentioning that, you know, a couple of others mentioning, well, we're starting to have a little bit of trouble, you know, finding drivers. And by the way, I'm seeing some reports out there. Freight is increasing. We're also seeing a report that the Fed is thinking about raising interest rates in I think it's June or July meeting. If the Fed's thinking about raising interest rates, it's because they're seeing the economy picking up. That is really good news for us. I'm not really excited about interest rates going up because I'm not retired. Retired folks would love to see interest rates go up a little bit so they can start living off of their return, not their principal. But anyway, we're in the largest driver shortage, and don't be fooled by that. Right this minute, I hear quite a few people, oh, you know, recruiting's not important. It's retention, and I'm glad. I'm glad to hear people talk about retention finally. And by the way, we're going to talk about that at the end of this webinar. But don't be fooled. We are in a driver shortage. It's getting worse every day, and it's going to lead to a lot of missed opportunities for people. And so let's get into the number one technique and the reason that can lead to an improved quantity and quality of drivers hired. Now, folks, it seems rudimentary when I say it, but please don't tune me out because it is so important. The number one thing I'd say here is recruit who you want, not just who wants you. And the reason I say that, I actually offer a service called Undercover Trucker, wherein I get hired by companies to go through the entire recruiting process, the entire onboarding process, the entire orientation process, and I usually disappear right before I'm supposed to drive out the parking lot in the truck. And it's amazing. Here I am, a person that has, you know, I was in the Coast Guard. I worked at CFI for 10 years, and I've been driving for the same company. This is what my app says. Been driving for the same company for the last, at this point, 18 years. No tickets, no accidents, no criminal, no PSP violations. I think anybody on this phone would go, holy cow, that's probably one of the best drivers we've ever seen. And by the way, I didn't mention this earlier, we are able to take questions, and we'll try to leave some time to answer them. If not, we'll answer them to everybody following the seminar. But if you have a question, you can send it privately to me, and I have that screen open so I can see those over there. So, but here's what happens. I end up calling recruiters, and if the typical phone call goes with, hey, I wonder if you're hiring drivers, and the recruiter goes, we sure are, and then they go quiet. And then I say, well, what can you tell me about it? And they go, well, where do you live? Well, how much experience do you have? And of course, I'll say, I live here in Neosho, Missouri. I have 18 years of experience. You have any tickets? Nope. Any accidents? Nope. Well, any criminal history? Some people still ask that initial phone call. Nope. Well, if everything you're telling me is true, so what they just did is interrogate me. When I said 18, you know, they didn't ask me how many employers I had, you know, where I'm working at now. They said how much experience. I said 18 years. No tickets, no accidents, no criminal. Their next answer is, if everything you're telling me is true, then we've got. Uh-oh, somebody says, oh, okay, they got it back. Somebody lost sound, then they got it back. Good deal. So, you know, if everything you're telling me is true. So they just called me a liar. But then they go, well, if everything you're telling me is true, we have blah, 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 blah. Now, folks, if I'm being hired to go through your orientation undercover, I'm going to get hired. Here's what's amazing. I have to force myself to get hired all but twice. in 18 years, I've been the one that had to force myself to get hired. And what I mean by that is, and by the way, I do this a lot, not even get hired, but just doing mock phone calls to recruiters. Some people hire me just to do that, call my recruiters, act like a driver, and report the findings. And so I don't act like a hardball. I act like I am very interested in what you have. Oh man, that sounds great. Ooh, that'd work for me. That's better than I have now. All of those are buying signals telling you that I like what you're selling. Most recruiters just keep talking. It's me who finally has to say, well, what do I got to do to get hired? And then they'll go, well, yeah, well, great. Would you have internet access? Well, sure. Well, yeah, if you'll go out on the internet, fill out the application, and then I'll get back with you. Okay. So I go out, fill out the application. Only takes a few seconds. In those two occasions that the people called me right back, they both went, "Holy cow, that was fast!" And I said, "Yeah, it doesn't take long when you only have one job, you know." And they're like, "Oh yeah." But in every other case, I fill out the application, and I wait, and I wait, and I wait. And I finally, the Tuesday before the Monday I'm supposed to be in orientation, I call the recruiter and say, hey, I'm wanting to check on my application. And then they'll go, oh, let me check. And then they go, oh, yeah, here it is. What that tells me is, and I see it when I'm in recruiting departments consulting, and I see it, and it happens to me when I'm the undercover trucker trying to get hired to go through orientation as a driver. The only people that are getting hired and the only people that are getting worked are the people that are calling to check on their application. Folks, we spend a lot of money for leads. So this person, in this situation, here I was, a super high quality applicant, and I filled out the application like they said, but then it just sat in their inbox until I called back to say, hey, what happened? On the other hand, you may have people, one of the things that Matt didn't talk on this call, he talked on one of the prior calls, he talked about landing pages. He talked about the short form application. We didn't talk, don't have time. That'd be an entire seminar all by itself to talk about what they do with the pay-per-click and how they send it to the landing page. And the number one response we get from landing pages are the short form applications. The number two response are phone calls. The number three is a full-blown driver application. But what's happening is many people get those short form apps and never even call the driver back until they don't start doing anything until the driver calls them. So it's all missed and lost opportunity. I've experienced this from the undercover trucker standpoint, and I've experienced it from the consulting standpoint when I'm in looking at recruiting department policies, procedures, and structures, and working with recruiters. Folks, when the people that you're recruiting are those people that are calling and badgering, hey, where you at, where you at, where you at? Would you all agree that the good drivers don't have to sit around and wait? They have plenty of opportunity. And so what happens is our system is perfectly designed to give us exactly what we're getting. Our system is designed for us to end up with a lower quality driver because the good ones are gone. Well, it's a small little tweak, but it's a little bit of training for the recruiters. You decide who you want, and you proactively have a plan in place to have that person engaged with you, keep them engaged with you all the way through the onboarding process. So my last point there, of course, you guys can see the pieces on, perceptions of our image become reality in the recruiting process. How we answer the phone. Do you sound like the type of place and type of person I'd want to be associated with? I would hope so. Number one thing I look for in recruiters is a positive attitude. I can give them the skill. Attitude's their choice. How we treat drivers in the office. Do we treat them like applicants and third-party, third-class citizens, or do we treat them like, hey, you can be an active part and an integral part of our team. Glad you're here. Let's see how we can put this together so you can provide for your family. Do we have conversation with them, or do we interrogate them? And build a relationship with them or keep them at a distance? Folks, we're asking the applicant to trust us with absolutely everything they have, their ability to feed and provide for their family. And how are we going to build that type of trust if we don't even know their name and show a specific interest in them as a person? Lastly, how do we recruit who we want and really kind of get this process working? At the end of every recruiting phone call, I create a plan of action from the very first phone call to the very last one. My plan of action is, this is what I'm going to do between now and the next time we talk. This is what I need you to do between now and the next time we talk. And this is when I need you to call me. And you notice I said something most recruiters don't say. I said, and this is when I need you to call me. And the reason I say that is, folks, we're pounded on the phone. And we've all, whether we're recruiters or managers, there are phone calls we wanted to make, but we didn't get made. Why? Because we were so busy taking the calls that were coming in. So what I do is I load my phone with people calling me because that was the agreed upon plan of action. I'm going to send you here we are at the end of the very first phone call. And I'm going to say, John, I tell you what, based on what I'm seeing here, I don't see any reason we can't take this next step. Matter of fact, sounds like you'd want to be here when, on like the 17th? If you're right, he says yes. If you're wrong, he says, well, when's your next one? Oh, it's the 23rd. Yeah, that'd be better for me, the 23rd. All right. Well, John, here's what we need. The 23rd is what we're working for. Here's what we need to do. I need to get a full-blown application from you. How about I email that to you, and when could you fill that out? Oh, I could, I'm going to stop around 3 o'clock today. I can get on it right then. Excellent. What's your email address? So now when he fires his email up later, there's a link. Most recruiters say, yeah, just go on our website and fill out the application. Oh, okay, I'll do that. I want him to turn his email on and see a link from me to remind him to do it, because things happen and people get busy. So he's going to, and on that email, I'm going to outline our plan of action as well. But here's my plan of action. I'm going to send you a link to our email. You're going to fill out the application, a link to our email. I'm going to send you a link to our application. You're going to fill out the application and hopefully have it to me before 5 o'clock this evening. Then I will get started on your app, and why don't you call me tomorrow at 10 a.m. So then the next step, of course, is for us to have a system which, I'm looking for that application from him. And if I have it, I also know that he's going to call me at 10 a.m. So I'm prepared for that phone call. And if he doesn't call me, if I don't get the application, then I'm reaching out to him. Or if he doesn't call me, I'm reaching out to him. But folks, if we do the plan of action right and we do this phone call right, they will fill out the application and they will call you. Why? Because they're working toward the 23rd with you. Take the ambiguousness out of your recruiting process and get very specific. They need to pay their bills. They need to buy food for themselves. They need to provide for their families, and they're going to keep making phone calls and keep talking to more people until they have a reason to stop. And we can give them a reason to stop on the very first phone call that they make with us and get them on a plan of action. I've got a client we're working with, and they've got a very long time period because they're doing contractors and some real special commodities, a very long time period from hello until they're finally, okay, great, we can have you in orientation now. The plan of action is the key to their success, because if it just stays ambiguous and he's like, man, I need to make a change. I mean, when's the end of this road? When do I get to where I'm going? Then pretty soon they decide, oh, it's taking too long, I'm out of here. Well, by creating the plan of action, they know the date we're working for and they're engaged with us. Folks, they would rather not keep making phone calls to recruiters, because most recruiters don't treat them very well. So they would rather, you give them a reason not to make any more phone calls to anybody else, but to be engaged with you. They will be engaged with you, and you will hire the people you want, not just getting left with the people that are left. And I think we can all, make an assumption as to the quality of the applicants that are left. Hey, So we're running out of time real quick. We did have a couple questions I saw come in. I can't talk and read at the same time. So I tell you what I am going to do. I will answer these questions, and it will be part of the follow-up. So here's what happens. Laura from my office is going to send everybody a follow-up email that will have my answer to these two questions that were submitted and any others that come in. And secondly, she is going to send you a link to this recorded webinar, but I'll tell you right, and so there's that. And also, next month's webinar is June 22nd, and we ask folks, and I think she's got set up on the back side of this a survey, and I appreciate you answering that. But we've asked people what topics are you interested in. The overwhelming response that we got last two times has been, please, more on retention. So next month's topic is going to be on retention, and the title is What Trucking and Football Have in Common. Folks, this is an attitude changer. I do it in every one of my driver retention seminars. It's part of the introduction, and it becomes a mantra that even 10 years later, when I go back and visit a client that I did a retention seminar with, they are still talking about what trucking and football have in common and the mantra that comes out of that lesson. So I look forward to sharing that with you next month, and we'll probably stay on retention for a while, and just kind of measuring what the audience wants to talk about. But that being said, we are out of time. And folks, if anybody has any questions beyond what I've talked about here or want to go deeper into what I've talked about, there's my phone number, there's my email address. I'm here for you. And again, Matt, I'd like to say thank you to Matt Lee for being on every one of these calls, and Ramsey Media Works is there to help. If you are looking for help in your driver recruitment advertising, highly recommend Ramsey Media Works. With that, I'm going to conclude this webinar and look forward to having you folks again next month. Bye-bye.